I wanted to ask you both a question about the local. The local. We always talk about local. The local will save now the global, and I'm wondering if you're having experiences now, or you're observing occasions where this idea of the local is saving the global or will save the global, but also I'm always questioning myself as someone who does not have a local in real life.
Right.
How do we get connected to a local somewhere? Because we have real examples of non-localized people like refugees, migrants.
Yes, I agree. So this is why I like to talk about cosmolocal. And so cosmolocal means that everything that's light is global and shared, and everything that's heavy is localized to the extent possible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's very good reasons to do that. So from thermodynamic literature, I read that you can only restore locally, right? You can only create non-entropic at the local level. You can only regenerate at the local level. Abolishing transport can save us 75% of matter energy expenditure. Mutualization even more, 80%. So we need to do these things, but we need to do them in a way that we keep open the flow, right? So I have a proposition for you, Maria, which is also for me, because I'm like you. I'm buy local, but I don't feel really, So we need our own structures that can interact with the geography, right? So I give you the example of SMART, which I work for right now, is Labor Mutual. So they're present in 9 different European countries. Fine. But you know what? Here we have 25,000 Westerners in Chiang Mai who are all excluded from their national insurance protection. And that's bad. So why don't we create vehicles, virtual vehicles, right? Where I could become part of the Chiang Mai digital nomad nation, but then connect myself to the geography. And so so there's a translation mechanism between the 2 levels. So I think we have to look into these kinds of, and the guilds in the Middle Ages, they were that way. And even the Catholic Church, right? You had the local aspect, which is the Lord, the Lord of the domain. But the church and the guilds were organized translocally. So if you went to the University of Bologna in the 12th century, so people from all over Europe went to study there, and they organized themselves in nations. So the French-speaking people, the English-speaking people, the Italians, and each nation was responsible for its group. So if somebody didn't pay the tuition fee, the nation was responsible. So
Can I be a bit more critical about this, Michel? Because there, I think I come back to your first example. Is that, of course, you're especially mentioning the church, a Catholic church, and the guild system that could exchange due to norms and standards and that were in place. Yeah. And that also stopped a lot of innovation and possible progress. It made a lot of things to a standstill. So if you were talking in the beginning of the maker society that is not able in this moment to enter, for instance, healthcare systems, is that the healthcare system in itself at this moment is functioning as a closed guild by the norms and the standards that are applied on them.
Yeah. Yes, so that would mean that we have to think about how to make these systems, open and adaptable, right? Even though actually I'm not so sure if I agree with the critiques, because you have to remember, between the 12th and the 15th century, that was one of the most innovative periods in European history. You know, people had a 5-day working week. They had Blue Monday. It's the critique comes from the capitalists who had techniques that destroy the living standards of the guild workers. So that these critiques were, you know, came from particular place and particular interests. I read that only in the Middle Ages, only 2% of the people in the cities were excluded. That's a much lower level than today. So what I like about this period is, you know, if you look at history, you have the Roman system, and you know what an empire does, it creates violence at its edges, but it creates a big area of peace inside. And so when that is integrated, you know, we have the local distributed system of the Middle Ages. Then we went to the Renaissance, which is all the people who had the nostalgia of Rome, right? The Renaissance was bringing back Roman values. And they built the nation state and the corporations, all these centralized powers. I think now our imagination is back to the Middle Ages. We are back into dreaming about distributed networks. You know, that's what the current generations, right? And if you want to see examples, we can look at the Middle Ages, not because it's perfect, but it's an era where the commons created vibrant markets, right?
Yeah.
You have the surplus workers who went to the cities and in 70 years' time created thousands of guilds to protect themselves and created an economy which was designed to protect their interests. So I see that a bit different. I think the Middle Ages, that period between 11th and the 14th century, as one of these regenerative epochs.
Okay.
Where rather than as a negative.
No, it's just that, for instance, in textile industry, the introduction of a machine was problematic, and that.
And you had the Luddites and the Canuts in Lyon, and these were revolt of the guild workers because their livelihoods were being destroyed, right? So I just want to say this because I was really shocked when hearing this. So I don't know if you know Henri Guillemin. He used to be an historian. He used to give these marvelous lectures on TV and radio when I was young. And he was talking about the revolution of 1848. And one of the anecdotes is the following. So in 1830, 20,000 workers in Lille lived in caves. They didn't even have housing. They had 10,000 kids in 1830, and they had one doctor who counted them, and 10 years later, only 600 of them were alive. Right? So this is what capitalism did. This emergent period, it completely destroyed, social structures and I don't know if you remember reading Polanyi, which for me was interesting. He said there was a basic income in England in the 18th century.
Correct.
Yeah, and so the labor laws of 1830, I think, abolished them, and it created huge misery.